Commander Vexathor stood at the bridge of the Darkspear, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he watched the gleaming white vessel drift through the void. The ship's hull bore the universal medical symbol, a red cross that seemed to mock him with its presence. Mercy's Light, the human hospital ship, represented everything he despised about their species. "Look at them," he growled to his bridge crew, mandibles clicking in contempt. "A warship-sized vessel dedicated to healing. What a waste of resources." Lieutenant Commander Kara Wren shifted uncomfortably at her tactical station. "Sir, the vessel is currently treating wounded from the Centauri conflict. There are over 2,000 patients aboard, including civilians from 12 different species." Vexathor waved a dismissive hand. "And that is precisely why humans will never dominate the galaxy, Kara. They waste their technological prowess on compassion." He spat the last word like poison. Through the viewscreen, he observed small transport ships docking and departing from Mercy's Light. Each one carried more wounded to be treated by the humans' advanced medical technology that could be used for warfare, for conquest, for achieving greatness among the stars. "Sir," Senior Officer Blake Chen interrupted his thoughts, "our long-range scanners indicate the hospital ship is operating at maximum capacity. They've converted their cargo bays into additional treatment wards." "Of course they have," Vexathor sneered. "Humans. Always stretching themselves thin to help others. Tell me, Blake, what do they gain from this? What resources do they collect? What territories do they conquer?" Blake Chen's four eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of discomfort among his species. "They gain nothing material, Commander, but they forge diplomatic relationships." "Relationships?" Vexathor slammed his fist on the command chair's armrest. "The galaxy isn't built on relationships, it's built on power. And right now, that ship represents the greatest concentration of vulnerable beings in this sector." A cold silence fell over the bridge. Kara Wren's copper-scaled skin paled visibly. "Commander, you can't be suggesting—" "I can and I am." Vexathor's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "Think of the message it would send. Humanity's great symbol of mercy reduced to atoms. They would learn that their compassion is a weakness, a fatal one." "Sir," Blake Chen stepped forward, his ceremonial rank chains jingling. "With all due respect, attacking a hospital ship violates every interstellar convention. The political fallout—" "Politics," Vexathor barked out a laugh. "Politics is for species too weak to take what they want. Humans have barely been spacefaring for 2 centuries. What can they possibly do to us?" He turned to face his crew fully now, drawing himself up to his full height. In the stark bridge lighting, his ceremonial battle scars cast sharp shadows across his face. "Humanity needs to learn its place in the galaxy. They're not some benevolent elder race. They're children playing at being saviors." "Commander," Kara Wren's voice trembled slightly, "there are other Dominion ships in range. They'll witness—" "Good." Vexathor's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Let them witness. Let them see what happens when species forget that the galaxy runs on strength, not kindness." He could sense the mounting horror among his bridge crew. Even members of his own species were shifting uneasily at their stations. Their discomfort only fueled his conviction. This was why the Dominion had grown soft in recent decades. Too much concern for diplomatic consequences. Too much worry about conventions and treaties. "Weapons Officer Thix," he called out. "Target their primary medical bay. I want this to be quick, but I want the humans to know exactly what we're destroying. Target their hope." Thix's hands hovered over the weapons console, trembling. "Sir, there are children in the pediatric ward." "That's an order, Officer Thix, or would you prefer to be relieved of duty?" The weapons officer swallowed hard, then began inputting targeting coordinates. Around the bridge, other officers stared at their consoles, unable to meet each other's eyes. They all knew they were about to cross a line that had held firm through centuries of interstellar conflict. Vexathor felt only satisfaction. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them wrestle with their consciences. In time, they would understand. This was the moment the Dominion would reassert itself as a true power in the galaxy. not through grand battles or planetary conquests, but by striking at the very heart of human ideology. "Sir," Blake Chen made one final attempt, "the humans have shown remarkable advancement in just 2 centuries of spaceflight. Perhaps we should—" Silence. Vexithor's roar echoed off the bridge walls. "I've made my decision. Humanity will learn that their compassion makes them vulnerable, and the galaxy will remember this as the day the natural order was restored." He turned back to the view screen, watching Mercy's light continue its peaceful rotation. Soon, very soon, that pristine white hull would bloom with fire, and humanity would finally understand the true nature of the cosmos. "Weapons locked on target, Commander," Thix announced, voice barely above a whisper. "Fire!" The Darkspear's primary beam lanced out across space, a brilliant purple streak against the void. Time seemed to slow as the energy bolt approached Mercy's light. On nearby ships, sensor operators stared in horror at their readings, unable to believe what they were witnessing. The first hit struck the medical bay directly. The pristine white hull cracked like an egg, atmosphere venting in a spectacular plume. Emergency force fields snapped into place, but Vexithor was already barking his next order. "Target their engines, no escape." Around the Darkspear, other ships were broadcasting urgent messages. "This is the Centauri vessel Starbright to Dominion warship. Cease fire immediately. You are attacking a medical vessel. Rigelian command to unknown aggressor. Stand down or face immediate response." "By the Great Mothers," gasped Blake Chen, watching the sensor readings. "Sir, there are 15 different species vessels moving to intercept." "Let them come," Vexithor snarled. "They'll be too late. Fire again." The second blast caught Mercy's light's port engine. The massive ship began to list, emergency lights flashing along its hull. Escape pods were launching now, desperate medical staff trying to evacuate their most critical patients. On the Rigelian flagship Dawntreader, Admiral Kix watched in stunned disbelief. "Get me visual on their medical bay. Now!" The image that appeared on her screen would haunt her for decades to come. Through the twisted wreckage, she could see medical staff of various species rushing to move patients. Human doctors were sealing emergency pressure suits onto wounded Centauri children. A Rigelian nurse was carrying 2 Andromean infants, trying to reach an escape pod. "All ships open emergency channels for escape pod retrieval," Kix ordered. "Priority 1 medical response, and someone get me Earth Command." Back on the Darkspear, Kara Wren's scales had turned almost white. "Sir, we're receiving emergency broadcasts from inside Mercy's light. They're begging for time to evacuate critical care patients." "No mercy for Mercy," Vexithor said, mandibles spread wide. "Target their central core. Let's finish this." "Commander!" Blake Chen's 4 eyes were wide with panic. "Sir, they're broadcasting videos of their pediatric ward. There are children still trapped in critical care pods. Then they will learn early that the galaxy is cruel." Vexithor turned to his weapons officer. "Fire." Thix's hands were shaking so badly he could barely operate his console. The third beam struck Mercy's light's central core. The ship's spine shattered, breaking it into 2 distinct pieces. The scenes broadcasting from inside were chaos. Human doctors used their own bodies to shield patients from debris. Medical droids continued operating, even as their chambers depressurized. A human nurse, her face streaked with blood, was recording a final message. "This is Laura Chen of Mercy's Light. We are under attack. To any ships in range, we have 300 critical care patients who cannot be moved. Please, please help us save them." The message cut off in a burst of static. On the Andromean vessel Light of Dawn, Captain Zena was already composing her report to the Galactic Council. Her tentacles trembled as she documented the atrocity unfolding before her. "They targeted the medical bay first," she dictated. "A deliberate strike to maximize casualties among the most vulnerable. This was not an act of war. This was something far darker." The remnants of Mercy's Light were breaking apart now. The few remaining escape pods looked like tiny white blood cells fleeing a dying body. Emergency rescue ships from a dozen species were racing to collect them, their crews knowing they would be too late for many. Vexathor stood on his bridge, drinking in the destruction. "Send a message to Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them." He never finished the sentence. A new alarm blared on the Darkspear's bridge. "Sir!" Kara Wren's voice cracked with fear. "Multiple quantum signatures detected. Massive energy readings." "What?" Vexathor spun toward the tactical display. "From where?" "Everywhere, sir. They're coming out of quantum tunnels all around us." The space around the dying hospital ship was lighting up with quantum breach points. Massive shapes were emerging from what had appeared to be empty void. Human ships. Warships. More than Vexathor had ever seen in one place, and they looked nothing like the simple vessels humans typically fielded. These ships were darker, angular, bristling with weapons that made his tactical officer whimper in fear. "Impossible," Vexathor whispered. "They're primitives. They waste their resources on healing." A new voice cut across all communication channels. Human, female, cold as space itself. "This is Admiral Sarah Hawthorne of the Earth Vengeance Fleet. You targeted our mercy. Now you will face our wrath." The transmission cut off. No ultimatum, no demands, just silence. Vexathor found himself holding his breath, waiting for the humans to speak again, to make threats, to posture. But the quantum black warships simply held position, their weapon ports open but not yet firing. "Sir," Blake Chen's voice quavered, "we're receiving data packets from the other alien vessels. They're withdrawing all diplomatic personnel from Dominion space." The bridge crew watched as ship after ship activated their FTL drives, leaving only the human vessels and the burning wreckage of Mercy's Light. The silence stretched on, broken only by the occasional burst of static from dying emergency beacons. "Commander," Kara Wren spoke softly, "the humans are broadcasting something on all frequencies." "Put it through," Vexathor ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. It wasn't a message, it was sound. A slow, steady rhythm that took him a moment to recognize. A human heartbeat. The sound medical monitors made when tracking a patient's life signs. But this one was slowing, weakening, dying. "Sir!" Blake Chen's chains rattled as he jerked in surprise. "Multiple quantum signatures detected at every major Dominion world. They're just appearing in orbit. Hundreds of ships." On the tactical display, Vexathor watched as more of the angular black vessels materialized throughout Dominion space. Each fleet positioned itself silently above a population center. No demands, no communication. Just the sound of that dying heartbeat playing across all frequencies. "Get me Earth Command," Vexathor demanded. "Now." "They're not responding, sir," Kara Wren reported. "None of the human vessels are responding to hails. We're receiving transmissions from our colony worlds." The messages began playing automatically, filling the bridge with panicked voices. "Central Command, human warships have appeared above New Sanctus. They're over the capital, thousands of them. The humans are broadcasting medical logs from Mercy's Light. They're showing us what we did." Vexathor's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of mounting stress. How did they deploy so quickly? Where were they hiding these ships? "Sir," Blake Chen's voice was barely a whisper. "Message coming in from the Dominion High Council. They're ordering all military vessels to stand down. They say the humans have shown them something, files from their database, some kind of historical record." The images began playing on the bridge screen without warning. Earth's history, not the sanitized version taught in xenology classes, but recordings of their wars, their weapons, their capacity for calculated retribution when pushed too far. "Tactical analysis," Vexathor snapped. "What are we facing?" Kara Wren's fingers flew over her console. "Sir, these ships, they're not like anything in our database. The energy readings suggest weapons technology at least 3 centuries beyond our most advanced systems. And their quantum drives, sir, they've achieved point-to-point teleportation. They can bypass all our defenses." "Impossible. They're barely out of their star system." "No, sir," Blake Chen corrected quietly. "They chose to stay in their system. They chose to build hospital ships instead of warships. They chose mercy until we proved we didn't deserve it." The dying heartbeat stopped broadcasting. The silence that followed was deafening. "New transmission," Kara Wren announced. "Text only." The message appeared on every screen in Dominion space simultaneously. "You considered our mercy a weakness, our compassion a flaw. You believed that because we choose to heal, we cannot harm. You were wrong." Mercy's light carried 2,342 patients, 112 medical staff. In exactly 1 hour, we will demonstrate the difference between those who choose not to harm and those who cannot harm at all. Vexathor sank into his command chair, finally understanding. The humans hadn't built their civilization on healing because they were weak. They had built it on healing because they were so terrifyingly strong that they could afford to. "Sir," Blake Chen reported, his voice hollow, "our long-range sensors are detecting something strange. The human ships, they're arranging themselves in a pattern." On the tactical display, the black vessels shifted position. Slowly, methodically, they formed a shape above every Dominion world. A shape that made Vexathor's blood run cold. A red cross, the symbol for Mercy's light. But this time it didn't represent salvation. The final message from the humans was brief. 45 minutes remaining. We suggest you spend them evacuating your medical facilities. We would not want you to accuse us of targeting hospitals. The countdown began. 30 minutes, announced a calm human voice across all channels. Be advised, quantum containment fields are now active. No further FTL travel will be permitted within Dominion space. On the Darkspear's bridge, alerts blared as their quantum drive went dark. They were trapped. "Commander!" Kara Wren's voice cracked. "New signatures detected. They're coming out of Mars." The tactical display lit up as massive structures emerged from beneath the red planet's surface. Orbital rings, shipyards, weapon platforms that dwarfed anything the Dominion had ever built. All perfectly camouflaged until this moment. "Neptune as well," Blake Chen reported. "They're gas giant mining platforms. They're transforming." Through the view screen, Vexathor watched in horror as what they'd thought were simple resource extraction facilities unfolded like deadly flowers, revealing batteries of weapons that made his tactical officer physically recoil from her readings. "Those aren't mining platforms," Kara Wren whispered. "They're fortress stations. The humans, they built their military infrastructure in plain sight, disguised as civilian facilities." A new class of vessel emerged from Jupiter's atmosphere. Massive ships, their hulls rippling with active camouflage that made them appear to fade in and out of reality itself. "Quantum phase dreadnoughts," Blake Chen breathed. "They crack planetary crusts like eggs. The humans had them hidden in gas giant storms, using the electromagnetic interference as cover." Admiral Hawthorne's voice returned, still eerily calm. 20 minutes. Be advised, we are now deploying our secondary containment grid." Between the human vessels, points of light began to connect. A web of energy formed, linking ship to ship, creating a barrier that enclosed all of Dominion space. "Analysis," Vexathor demanded. Sir, it's like nothing we've ever seen." Kara Wren's copper scales had gone almost white. "They're creating artificial quantum boundaries, rewriting local space-time. We're being sealed in a bubble of altered physics." Through the view screen, more ships emerged. Smaller vessels that moved like liquid mercury, flowing around debris as if space itself bent to accommodate them. "Gravitic control," Blake Chen reported numbly. "Not just artificial gravity, total control over gravitational fields. Sir, they're not using conventional engines at all. They're surfing space-time itself." 10 minutes, announced the human voice. "Weapon systems are now advancing to final stage." The black ships began to transform. Sections of hull plating shifted and realigned, revealing weapon systems that defied conventional physics. Crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. Arrays that seemed to bend reality around them. "Sir," Kara Wren's voice was barely audible. "That light, those aren't energy weapons. They're quantum shears. They don't destroy matter. They edit it out of existence." Above every Dominion world, the human fleets completed their formations. Each red cross now burned with terrible purpose, their weapons aimed at strategic targets with surgical precision. 5 minutes, stand by for demonstration of primary weapon systems. A single human ship, no larger than a scout vessel, moved into position near an uninhabited Dominion moon. Its hull rippled, a small crystalline array extending from its bow. "Activating quantum shear array at minimum power," announced a new voice. 3% capacity. Target, Section 4 of Dominion Moon Beta. A beam of impossibly dark light connected ship to moon. Where it touched, reality simply stopped. A perfect sphere of the moon's surface ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris. Just a geometrically perfect void where matter had once been. "That was 3% power," Admiral Hawthorne's voice returned. "Would you like to see 100%? Vexithor found his voice at last. "Wait, please, we surrender. The Dominion surrenders unconditionally." 2 minutes, came the reply, "and surrender is not an option we're considering. You see, Commander Vexithor, you made a fundamental error in your analysis of humanity." Another voice cut in, male this time. "This is General Marcus Chen of Earth Strategic Command. Let me explain your mistake. You saw our hospital ships and assumed we were weak. You never asked why a species would choose to heal when they could harm." 1 minute, Admiral Hawthorne continued. "The answer is simple. We built Mercy's Light because we remembered our own wars, our own atrocities. We learned to heal because we became too good at hurting. Every medical ship we launch is a promise to ourselves, a reminder of what we choose not to do." The quantum shear arrays hummed to life across the human fleet. Reality itself seemed to shiver in anticipation. 30 seconds. You should have asked yourself, Commander. What kind of species has to actively choose peace? What kind of civilization has to remind itself daily not to use its full strength? Through the view screen, Vexithor watched as the human ship's crystalline arrays aligned with their targets, each one humming with enough power to erase cities from existence. 10 seconds. You assumed our mercy was a sign of weakness. Allow us to demonstrate why you were wrong. The arrays began to glow with that impossible dark light. Above every Dominion world, reality held its breath. Time's up. This is humanity, showing you exactly why we chose to build hospitals instead of weapons. We suggest you pay very close attention. The arrays fired. In that moment, Vexithor understood true power. The quantum shears didn't devastate their targets. They edited them from existence with surgical precision. Military bases, weapon platforms, shipyards, all removed from reality with the same care a surgeon excises a tumor. "Report," he whispered, though he already knew what he would hear. "Sir," Kara Wren's voice trembled, 87% of our military infrastructure gone. Not destroyed, just gone. The humans, they removed everything military while leaving civilian structures untouched, even when they were in the same building." On the Regellian flagship Dawn Treader, Admiral Kix watched in stunned silence. "By the first light," she breathed. "They're not just precise, they're selective. Their weapons can distinguish between military and civilian at the quantum level." The human ships moved with terrible purpose, their black hulls flowing like liquid shadow. Each target disappeared with clockwork precision. No collateral damage. No civilian casualties. Just the systematic removal of everything the Dominion had built for war. "Witnessing vessels, be advised." Admiral Hawthorne's voice was cold and clear. "What you are observing is humanity operating at less than 10% of our true military capacity. We trust this demonstration will be sufficient to explain why we prefer to build hospitals." On the Andromean vessel Light of Dawn, Captain Zena's tentacles twisted in shock as she recorded her observations. They're not fighting a war. They're performing surgery on reality itself. Every strike is calculated to remove threat capability while preserving civilian life. This isn't combat. This is human medicine applied to warfare. The quantum shear arrays continued their work. Dominion military vessels simply ceased to exist, their crews deposited safely but unconscious on nearby worlds. Defense stations vanished, their civilian workers untouched. Even personal weapons dissolved from soldiers' hands, leaving them unharmed, but helpless. "Commander!" Blake Chen's 4 eyes were wide with terror. They're broadcasting something new. Medical logs from their quantum weapons." The data scrolled across their screens. Each weapon had been designed by doctors, calibrated by surgeons. The quantum shears didn't destroy, they excised, like a scalpel removing diseased tissue while preserving healthy cells. On the Darkspear's bridge, Vexathor watched his empire being systematically disarmed by a species that had turned medicine into a weapon of war. The humans hadn't built their civilization on healing because they were weak. They had done it because they were so powerful that healing was the only challenge left worthy of their skills. "Sir," Kara Wren announced, her voice hollow. "New transmission. Text only." The message appeared on his command screen. "Commander Vexathor, your actions caused the deaths of 412 patients aboard Mercy's Light, 307 medical staff, 89 children. We have removed your capacity to wage war. Now we will demonstrate our capacity for justice." The Darkspear shuddered as a quantum field enveloped it. Not a weapon this time, a containment bubble. "This vessel will be preserved," Admiral Hawthorne's voice returned. "As a reminder, your bridge crew will be evacuated, but you, Commander, have an appointment in our medical bay." Vexathor felt cold fear grip his spine. Medical bay? Yes. You see, we've developed some fascinating quantum surgical techniques. We can edit tissue with the same precision we edit space-time. Your body will survive. Your mind will remain intact. But you will spend the rest of your natural life experiencing every moment of pain you inflicted on our patients. Not as punishment, but as treatment. After all, we're healers. Through the view screen, Vexathor watched the last of the Dominion's military might fade from existence. The human ships hung in formation, their dark hulls now seeming less like weapons and more like medical instruments. Precise, sterile, efficient. On a dozen worlds, other species observers documented what they witnessed. The reports all carried the same warning: never mistake humanity's preference for healing as a sign of weakness. They choose to save lives because they have mastered the art of ending them. A new voice cut across all channels. Dr. Laura Chen, one of the survivors of Mercy's Light. "Commander Vexathor, your quantum surgery is scheduled to begin in 5 minutes. Don't worry, we'll take excellent care of you. After all, that's what we do. We heal, we help, we save lives. But today, you're going to learn why the most dangerous beings in the universe are the ones who know exactly how bodies work, and choose not to use that knowledge for harm." As the quantum transport beam engaged, Vexathor finally understood. Humanity hadn't built hospitals instead of weapons. They had turned their hospitals into weapons, their healing into warfare, their mercy into judgment. The last thing he saw before the transport took him was the wreckage of Mercy's Light, still broadcasting its distress signal, a reminder that humans would cross the galaxy to heal a single child, or remove an empire from existence with surgical precision. They were healers, yes, and that made them the most terrifying warriors in the galaxy. 10 years later, the memorial station, Mercy's Promise, rotated slowly in the same coordinates where Mercy's Light made its last stand. Its pristine white hull bore the same red cross, but now that symbol carried new meaning throughout the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Hawthorne stood at the observation deck, watching medical ships from a dozen species dock and depart. Each vessel now carried quantum shielding freely provided by humanity. No one had dared attack a hospital ship since the day Earth revealed its true nature. "Admiral," Laura Chen approached, her medical whites contrasting with Hawthorne's black uniform. "The new Galactic Medical Code has been ratified. All species have signed." Hawthorne nodded, watching a Regellian medical frigate launch. "Unanimous agreement?" "Yes, even the Dominion's successor states signed immediately." Laura smiled slightly. "Amazing how diplomatic everyone becomes when they understand the consequences." The new code was simple. Any attack on medical vessels or facilities would be considered an attack on humanity itself. Earth would respond not with warfare, but with surgery. Precise, calculated, irresistible. "How is our patient?" Hawthorne asked. Commander Vexathor continues his treatment. His quantum-locked nervous system ensures he experiences every moment of pain he caused. The medical staff suggests another 50 years should be sufficient for full rehabilitation. Through another window, they could see the quantum defense platforms that now protected medical ships throughout known space. Black angular shapes that looked more like surgical instruments than weapons. A reminder of humanity's promise and its capability. "The new hospital ships are launching today," Laura noted, gesturing to the construction yards where vessels were taking shape. "The Andromians asked for our help designing them. And the other species? They all want to learn from us now, not our weapons, our healing. They finally understand that true power lies in choosing not to harm when you're capable of doing so much damage." In the distance, a memorial light burned constantly, a quantum beacon marking the exact coordinates where Mercy's light had made its final stand. But it wasn't a monument to defeat. It was a reminder of the day the galaxy learned why humans devoted so much of their strength to healing. "The latest diplomatic reports are interesting," Laura commented. "Species are redirecting military budgets to medical research. They say it's more practical to learn how to heal like humans than to risk needing our particular brand of surgery." Hawthorne turned from the window. "And the new mandatory medical beacons? Installed on every hospital in known space. If one goes dark, if anyone dares to attack a medical facility." Laura's voice hardened. "Earth will respond, with precision." They watched as another medical ship launched, its white hull gleaming. But now everyone knew that beneath that peaceful exterior lay quantum shielding based on the same principles as humanity's most terrible weapons. The ultimate expression of humanity's dual nature, healers who had mastered the art of unmaking reality itself. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity's mercy wasn't a weakness to exploit. It was a choice made by being so powerful they had to consciously restrain themselves. A species that could edit matter from existence but chose to heal instead. Attack their mercy, and they would respond with surgical precision that made war look primitive. In the end, that was humanity's greatest victory. Not the day they revealed their power, but the day they convinced the galaxy that healing was the greater strength. Mercy's light was gone, but its legacy burned brighter than ever in the darkness between stars.